everyone. Welcome to Laser Tech Tuesdays at 2. I'm Jay Cottrell, and I'm the Marcom manager here for LTI. Every Tuesday around 2 p.m. Mountain Time, we go live for about 15 minutes, and we discuss solutions in traffic safety or professional measurement with a subject matter expert that we work with. So you can grab a cup of coffee and join us. If you're joining us live, you can post a comment below and let us know what's on your mind. And if you're viewing the replay on YouTube, we'd love to hear from you, and you can reach us at info@lasertech.com. Today, Noah Ward with AllTerra Central joins me to talk about different professional measurement solutions that he works with. Thanks for joining me, Noah.
Oh, thanks, Jay. Happy to be here.
Okay. So for people who have not yet met you, could you give me your title, how long you've been with AllTerra, and that kind of stuff? Just a little introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Jay said, my name is Noah Ward. I am one of the mapping and GIS sales managers for our North Texas and Oklahoma territories here with AllTerra. I've been working with AllTerra for probably just over 2.5 years now, combination of training support and then now on the sales side of things.
So we were talking before we went live about how you got into the tech industry. Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of just the classic, got out of high school trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Was kind of just trying to figure out the right path for me, and ended up going down to Texas A&M in College Station here in Texas, and we met with an advisor and then recommended the spatial science program. I knew I was kind of technically inclined on the computer side of things, so it was a pretty natural fit, and really took it and ran with it. So, I mean, that encompassed all kinds of things: land surveying, remote sensing, mapping, GIS, GPS, all kinds of the components that I deal with now. And really, like I said, really enjoyed it. Kind of found a passion there that I wasn't even aware of. Spent some time working with some different local government entities in mapping and GIS roles, and then transitioned over to this role with AllTerra, where it really kind of lets you explore a lot of the advanced modern technologies that are out there and kind of get to the cutting edge stuff. So it's been really cool.
Yeah. So you've been with us before, and we talked about pole auditing, and you mentioned that your customers do more than just pole audits. What other industries do you get to step foot into?
Yeah. So it's unique because mapping and GIS in general really has so many specific industries that we touch. I mean, anything from environmental to oil and gas, engineering, surveying, things like that. So, I mean, it could be anything from using the LTI rangefinders with a Trimble GPS to do a tree survey where we're setting up and actually shooting those trees remotely from a good position, or maybe in the local government side of things where we're mapping storm sewer systems, and there's outfalls that, the water release outfalls that you can't get to and actually set up on GPS, being able to use the rangefinders to shoot those and get accurate GPS positions based off of that. And then obviously the pole audits and pole stakeouts, pole layouts are big in regards to specifically the laser use tied in with some of the GPS applications that we do. So it's a pretty wide range. There's a lot of different unique ones that we get to touch on.
So yeah, the other day I saw a surveyor who was trying to map out manholes, and he kept jumping into traffic. Like, he would watch the traffic and then he'd jump out with his GPS and then jump back into the median. I really wanted to stop and give him a different type of way to measure things, because it's not safe to keep jumping into traffic like that.
Yeah, and some of that's just being able to spread the word that there's technology available to keep you from having to be in those situations. And still, I mean, the key component is always maintaining that accuracy through the workflow. That's what everyone's always concerned about. So, I mean, it's really a win-win situation where you can implement something that's safer, still maintain that accuracy, and, I mean, even just expediting, having to wait for traffic to clear or even close roads to be able to do that. So, yeah, absolutely.
Right. So what is the most interesting industry that you've been able to go and help people with?
I mean, going back to the electrical distribution, from the laser standpoint, I think that is really kind of a shining product in their world, because it does all those things kind of we just talked about, the safety aspect of it, the speed of the capturing the data, and the consistency and the accuracy. I mean, it really is something that is so beneficial to that industry as a whole. as far as like the most unique project I think I've ever been on, I've been got called out to a wind farm with the big wind capture windmill type deals that was pretty unique. Hadn't been up close to those ever before, and to see the size in person and really how large that infrastructure is was really a cool experience in that regard. So
those windmills are huge.
Yeah, massive.
You just don't realize that until you get really up close to them. So, since you do have so many different industries, is there a typical workflow that you tend to fall back on as something that's common for everyone, or does everybody have a different kind of workflow that they need?
Yeah, I mean it's case by case. Goals, but it really depends on the industry and what they're trying to get out of it. You know, the electrical distribution side of it or utility side of it, it's usually pretty consistent. You know, they're typically chasing heights and spans and sag and things like that. So we've got software applications that are kind of geared towards that setup. And then on the more true mapping and GIS side of things, probably the most common workflow is looking for a GPS offset in some form or factor. So being able to, you know, be remote from the asset you're actually mapping, be in a good environment, get really good quality GPS, and then use the laser to offset to it. So, I mean, that's a pretty standard workflow, I would say, in the mapping and GIS side of things. And there's different ways to achieve it and different software that we integrate with, but overall, it's kind of the same fundamentals, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Right. And I know people often ask you about accuracies. What do you usually tell them?
So from the LTI side of things, I mean, obviously there's the different models depending on what level of accuracy we're trying to achieve. And then, you know, you kind of combine that with GPS, whether we're doing, you know, something that's like sub-meter, 2 to 3 foot accuracy, or scaling down to, you know, centimeter, half inch or better kind of accuracies. So, you know, all those are things that are discussed and how to maintain that. So you kind of gear the training towards that, because when you're using multiple different products, you know, you have to account for kind of the compounding error that's just native to that type of technology. So those are all things that we discuss. And you know, I mean, generally speaking, we can maintain, you know, within reason those tolerances, whether it's, you know, maybe it's that 4 to 6 inch accuracy we're ultimately can work within. We've got specific lasers that we would pair with certain GPS to do that. And maybe we do, instead of doing like a bearing distance offset, we do like a dual distance one to try to, you know, eliminate any shift in the bearing or something like that. So it's it kind of goes back. It's case by case, and we try to get the right components in there to get the best accuracy you possibly can is the ultimate goal.
Right. So when you're educating your customers about laser tech, of course, what are some common questions that you come across?
You know, something that I probably get asked a lot is what really, you know, what sets the LTI True Pulse lasers apart from, you know, your everyday recreational rangefinder you can get at, you know, the sporting goods store or whatever it is. And I think that's a reasonable question when you're kind of evaluating everything you're doing. I think the LTI lasers take you to that next professional level. So you're not only getting very consistent distance measurements, which is kind of fundamentally what everything's built off of, but we're introducing the capability to do, you know, height measurements and the span measurements, and being able to kind of take these multiple calculations in, and it's spitting out a lot of different data that you can kind of consume into different things. So it's not a one-trick pony. It's, you know, you've got all the different calculations for all the measurements you need, and that really sets them apart. And then on top of that, just the consistency and accuracy, kind of like we talked about, getting the right components in place. You want something that's going to be reliable, that's going to give you repeatable results. And I definitely think LTI is you know, a leader in that regard. So I think that's really the biggest proponent too.
Right. Plus, because we do have some Bluetooth capability and some other connectivity, you don't have to worry about having a sharp pencil all the time.
Yeah, so being able to integrate digitally is huge. Absolutely, being able to take that shot and automatically feed into, whether it's your mapping GIS software or some of the different ones that we have for some of maybe even the pole audits, or even you know, at its simplest form, a digital Excel, and being able to capture those measurements on the go is a huge benefit, instead of having to shoot it, you know, manually, either write everything down or key it in. Absolutely, it speeds that workflow along. So definitely.
Right. So do you have a favorite LTI laser?
I'm a big fan of the 200X for the accuracy. It's going to be one of the most accurate models there. You pair that with a subfoot Trimble GPS receiver and integrate that into like TerraFlex or something along those lines, which is a mapping software that Trimble offers. They've got a great offset workflow that ties in with that 200X that I'm a big fan of. And then I guess probably the second one would be the 360R because it adds that azimuth in there, that bearing. You can do really, really rapid GPS offsets with that setup. So those are kind of my two go-to ones depending on what we're trying to do. But yeah, both of those are really, really great options there.
And they're definitely two of our more popular versions too. So I'm not surprised. So you talked about saving time, and we've talked about pole audits. How does using laser offsets save time during a pole audit? Like, what is the biggest differentiator there?
Yeah, so true like GPS offsets in regards to a pole audit, kind of there's multiple components to that. I mean, one going back to the safety that we kind of discussed, being able to be away from those poles that you may be trying to account for, being able to set up in a good environment and shoot multiple poles and get accurate locations for those. And then the other component of that is getting the height measurements or even the sag measurements. The speed of it is going to be one of them, and then again the safety, instead of using like a hot stick or something to go up and measure those, where you've got a physical person going and touching each individual pole and line and trying to get those measurements. You're able to do that rapidly, from a safe location. And then on top of that, like you mentioned, with the Bluetooth capability, tying into a digital form and being able to record that on the fly. So it goes back to a kind of a QA/QC check at that point, where you're not getting typos or miswriting anything like that. You're getting the measurements direct from the unit, and everything's coming in there very consistently. So all of those kind of components come together to really give you a streamlined solution to get really, really good data coming in.
Yeah, which is what everybody needs, is good data and quickly. So yeah, that's awesome. So where is AllTerra located? I know that you have a wide territory, and along with that, how do customers get in touch with you?
Yeah, so if you want to reach out, the easiest way is to hit our website at allterracentral.com. So our primary territories are Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico on the mapping and GIS side of things. So we've got offices spread all the way throughout, from Dallas to Austin, San Antonio, McAllen, Houston. I'm actually up in our Oklahoma City office right now. And then we've got representative out in New Mexico as well. So we're pretty spread out. We like to travel, so if you are interested in it, we'd love to come out and visit with you, kind of see what you have going, just talk technology and see what fits in with you. So best way, allterracentral.com. It'll have all our local offices on there, local contacts and things like that. If you want to email me directly, you can at noah.ward@allterracentral.com. I'd be happy to talk with you, and if we need to get somebody local, we can do that. So
that's awesome. Well, Noah, we are out of time for today, so I want to thank you so much for taking the time and joining me today and talking about AllTerra and a little bit about what you do.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Right. I want to thank everyone else who has joined us live today. We are proud of our partnership with AllTerra, and we're pleased to promote Noah, one of their team today. If you want to be alerted about upcoming Tuesday at 2 events, click the like button and follow LaserTech's page. And if you're watching the replay on LaserTech Pro YouTube channel, you can click subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be alerted to new videos. We'll be live again next Tuesday. We'll be talking with Jason Hooten from Leica Geosystems. We will be exploring how our different systems complement each other. So until then, let's keep building safer communities. Thank you.